Will Smith has been one of Hollywood's biggest stars for decades now, but let's be real. People talk just as much about the controversies and that awkward new freestyle as much as they do about his movies nowadays.
And even though I'm an action star, sometimes I'ma act bizarre.
But love him or hate him, Will Smith's filmography is absolutely packed with everything from classics, flops, to everything in between. So today we're going to cut through all the noise and we're going to give you the ultimate Will Smith tier list that you're absolutely going to disagree with. But let's try to have a little bit of fun with it. Alright, and our tier list breakdown is going to be as follows. Our bottom tier is going to be a slap in the face. This is just where regret lives. You watched it once and you immediately kind of repressed the movie and left it behind. Our next tier is going to be Will Smith couldn't save it, where even his charm couldn't rescue this one from just being a mediocre film. Next we got Will Smith did his best, where he tried. The script, not so much. The direction, questionable, but Will Smith definitely showed up. Next we got a solid movie with Will Smith in it, which is just a solid flick. You watched it mostly because he was in it, and that was enough for you, and the movie was also solid enough to go along with it. Following that up, we got Certified Big Willie Energy, which is charisma, action, emotion. He brought it all. These are the fan favorite gems that Will Smith has put out over his career. And the final tier is going to be Will Smith is the movie. These are the iconic Will Smith movies. He didn't just star in it, he carried it, defined it, and owned it. So with that being said, let's get started. So we're going to kick this list off with Will Smith's feature film debut, 1992's Where the Day Takes You. Now, I'm not going to talk a ton about this movie because Will Smith isn't in a ton of it, but it's his feature film debut, so I absolutely have to talk about it. In this, he plays a disabled homeless teen named Manny who has a bunch of friends who are also homeless living in LA. It depicts these teenagers in a lot of compromising situations, and it's actually a lot grittier than I thought Will Smith's first film debut would be. And it was a surprisingly serious role for Will Smith, especially coming hot off the tails of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. But this is also an opportunity for us to see hints of that range that Will Smith comes to really be known for later in his career. So ultimately, this movie's gonna land in Will Smith did his best. A solid debut. Next up, we got 1993's Made in America, which is actually a Whoopi Goldberg film with Will Smith co-starring as her best friend named Tea-Cake. Now, while movie number one was a really serious film, movie number two is definitely a comedy. And this is kind of where Will Smith shines at this point in his career. And this movie, while it felt kind of dated from some of the jokes and references it made, it still got some legitimate laughs out of me. So I'm going to put this in a solid movie with Will Smith in it. Following this one was a movie that I feel like isn't for everyone. It's 6 Degrees of Separation, 1993. This movie is a slow burn, but it's way better than I thought it was going to be going into it, just based off of the plot. But essentially, Will plays a con man who pretends to be Sidney Poitier's son, and he cons rich families to get close to them to ultimately steal from them. And the reason why I say this movie isn't really for everyone, if you're a Will Smith fan, it goes very much against type for Will Smith. This is an example for me of Will Smith going against type and it going well for the movie. He's just as convincing of an actor as he is a con man to these families, so it's a completely believable story. He's a complete chameleon in this one. So I'm gonna put it in a solid movie with Will Smith in it. Growing up, I had two sets of buddy cop franchises that were sort of my holy grail of buddy cop movies, and that was Rush Hour and Bad Boys. Now, plot-wise, are they the best movies? No. I think they usually lean towards ridiculous, but at the end of the day, you don't come to Bad Boys for the stories. You come to Bad Boys to see Marcus Burnett and Mike Lowrey. Now, this is the first film in the franchise, and it kind of sets the tone for the franchise, but it's definitely the most subdued out of all of them in terms of, like, I guess, Michael Bay-isms of it. But in terms of just launching a franchise and setting the tone for future sequels, this is a great movie all around. And an absolutely classic character in Mike Lowrey is introduced in this franchise, so this is going to land in Certified Big Willie energy for me. Next, we have 1996's Independence Day. So, I love giving fun facts about movies, and this is one that I love to give about Independence Day. The original pick to play Captain Stephen Hiller was actually Ethan Hawke, but when he read the script, he thought it was ridiculous and ultimately turned down the role. So then writer Dean Devlin and director Roland Emmerich both saw a little movie called 6 Degrees of Separation. And that was when they decided Will Smith was going to be the guy. The plot itself for this movie isn't the most innovative thing, but the visuals, especially at the time, were just groundbreaking. And this cast is just absolutely star-studded from top to bottom. So this is definitely gonna land in certified Big Willie energy. God, this is such a good run, because this is crazy. It's such a good run, and it's capped off by this because I don't know if Will Smith has a stronger introduction to a franchise than he does right here in the Men in Black franchise. This movie just has so much going for it. The world building is super creative, the effects still look pretty good today, and the cast is awesome. Like the way Will Smith and Tommy Lee Jones bounce off of each other and Rip Torn's just sort of random humor sprinkled throughout, it all comes together super well for this movie. And just something else that I noticed when I was older watching this movie back was that's Vincent D'Onofrio playing the cockroach guy in this, so just something cool to see in retrospect that he's been a part of my life for this long. I struggled with how high I wanted to place this movie, but honestly, I'm okay with leaving it right here in certified Big Willie energy, which is going to land us at 1998's Enemy of the State. This is one I hadn't seen since I was younger, and I was pleasantly surprised by this one as well. Will plays a lawyer in this one who ends up with footage of a congressman being assassinated, I believe, because they were trying to do something with government surveillance and just making it more widespread so they could catch things earlier, but it would infringe on people's rights, blah, blah, blah. Counterterrorism, but really more to survey the people, which the movie is kind of as convoluted as that plot sounds, but it was still a fun watch. Also, Gene Hackman is in this, and that's just awesome to see. And also, Skyler. This is going to be a solid movie with Will Smith in it. And that's going to bring us to the absolute end of that run because we are now at 1999's Wild Wild West. Now, on paper, this movie should have been way bigger than it was, but there were some crucial mistakes kind of made at the forefront in the inception of this movie. Kevin Kline was only cast opposite Will Smith because George Clooney turned down the role. And due to this, the whole sort of tone of the movie changed. According to actor and director comments, Kline was impossible to kind of get to play the straight man that he was supposed to play in this film that George Clooney was originally casted to be, opposite Will Smith being the funnier of the two. But since Kline was impossible to rein in, Will was told to be the straight man instead, which is something you really don't do when you have Will Smith in a movie. So this is a weird movie because the visuals look good and the music soundtrack is absolutely incredible, but the movie itself just isn't that great, and that's even more of a reason why it's going to land at a slap in the face. Now, you would think that a movie starring Will Smith and Matt Damon would be a top-tier movie, but unfortunately what we're left with is a feel-too-good movie that helps solidify the magical Negro trope. One that'll probably dive in at some point on this channel when I end up reviewing the American Society for Magical Negroes when I muster up the courage to actually watch that movie. Will isn't necessarily bad in this movie, and it's not a total waste, but I'm ultimately going to say that Will Smith couldn't save this one. Now, there are movies and actors' careers that truly help solidify them as a force, and not only as a talent, but as an icon. And Ali is that movie for Will Smith. Much akin to Jamie Foxx's Ray, this is truly a transformative role for Will, and it landed him an Oscar nomination and solidified him amongst the best in Hollywood on more than just a blockbuster level. Seriously, watch some old clips of Muhammad Ali alongside this movie and you will be amazed. Will Smith is the movie. Men in Black 2 takes everything that the first one presented to us and absolutely ramps it up to the next level. This is a movie I still reference a lot, and while it isn't as good as the first movie, it's a true sequel with some awesome set pieces, and low-key this movie made me a PlayStation kid too. Certified Big Willie energy. The boys are back, and in my honest opinion, they're at their best in this movie. When I think of the Bad Boys franchise, this is probably the movie I think of first. It's the one I quote the most, it's the one I can remember the most scenes from, and ultimately it's the one that I revisit the most, probably to an unhealthy degree. You're gonna think this is controversial, but Will Smith is the movie. While Bad Boys established Mike Lowrey, Bad Boys 2 made him an absolute legend. I'm gonna date myself here a little bit, but I actually saw iRobot in theaters when it first came out. And I liked the movie then because, you know, robots, Will Smith, cool, everything a kid could really want. But now watching it as an adult, I can have a different appreciation for this movie. It's a movie where you can really appreciate the nuance and the philosophy behind it, the sort of what makes a soul, what makes a life valuable in the first place. The action is also extremely exciting, and the world building is genuinely cool. Certified Big Willie energy. Shark Tale was a tough placement for me because looking back at this movie, I enjoyed it a lot as a kid. Honestly, back then, probably a little bit more than Finding Nemo. But as time has gone along, that opinion has flipped, and I also kind of remember being able to kind of guess where this movie was going as a 7-year-old kid. Now, when you look at the cast for this movie, it's absolutely stellar, while, you know, most animated movies are, But this one especially, with like Will Smith, Jack Black, Robert De Niro, Martin Scorsese, Angelina Jolie, Renee Zellweger, just to name a few. But even with this movie still gets lost to time for me as like the third best fish movie now. So this is going to be a solid movie with Will Smith in it. Now, I know I just made a fuss about being predictable with Shark Tale, and I'm prepared for the hypocrite comments now, but when it comes to Hitch, I think it follows the rom-com formula so perfectly for everyone casted that it doesn't matter that it's predictable. Will Smith and Kevin James, they should have made more movies, to be honest with you, because I think that's a great pairing, and Eva Mendes and Will Smith's chemistry is so good, you would think it caused an entanglement. No names mentioned. But with this being one of the quintessential rom-coms for me in all of film history, this one's gonna land at Will Smith as the movie. When I first saw this as a kid, my mom kind of had me sit down and watch it, and while I thought it was a good movie, I didn't really understand the hype, but then I watched this as an adult, and this movie absolutely broke me. Will Smith is so good in this movie, and just seeing him portray this role alongside his real-life son really just helps drive this movie home even more. You feel all the triumphs and all the defeats of this movie, and that's because of the resilience of the real-life man, Chris Gardner, and Will Smith's ability to bring that to the screen. Will Smith is the movie. I Am Legend was a movie that I felt like took the general populace off guard. A horror thriller action movie starring Will Smith and a dog for 90% of the movie shouldn't be compelling, but it's a movie where you don't want to leave your seat. This performance from Smith is intense, and the loneliness of it all even starts to get to you a little bit. I was fully prepared to put this in certified Big Willie energy because I didn't really like the theatrical ending, but now knowing that they intend for the deleted director's ending to be the real one, and that this may have spawned at least a sequel, that's enough for me to put it in Will Smith as the movie. If you want to know my full thoughts on Hancock, check out the video in the iCard above. I did a full deep dive breakdown on it. But with that being said, I'm placing this in certified Big Willie energy. Yes, I'm biased. 7 Pounds to me is an example of when Will goes off tight, but it doesn't really land for me. Like, it felt like this movie had a lot of big things to say, but didn't really know how to say them regarding death, penance, retribution, and all things of the sort. The performances are genuinely good, notably from Rosario Dawson, Woody Harrelson, and Will himself, but ultimately it's just too grim for its own good. So, Will Smith did his best. Given how much I loved the first two movies, I was genuinely excited for this one. I remember being there opening weekend, drink, food I snuck into the theater in hand, and walking out the theater thinking, that was pretty cool. Now, the sort of original whimsy and fun and just upbeat energy of the original ones just isn't really there, but it makes sense because our main stars are they're older now. And they, I guess, tried to recapture that with the new one that they made with the younger cast, but yeah, that didn't really land too well. But what the movie loses in that fun and intrigue, they gain in some emotional depth and some honestly really good lore for the series as well. So it's gonna land in a solid movie with Will Smith in it. Now, I talk about After Earth and sort of that debacle in that Hancock video as well, so I go a lot more in depth there too. So I'm gonna keep this one pretty short. It's a slap in the face, not only for the movie itself being a flop, but for everything else that the movie was also supposed to launch not landing at all. Smith plays alongside Margot Robbie in this one, and if you only watched the first 15 minutes and cut it off because you were going to watch it later, you would think you were going to come back to the best movie that you have ever seen. But this movie does kind of get derailed and it becomes more convoluted for its own good. The performances are there, but the story just isn't really as good as it could have been or should have really been for this one. So Will Smith couldn't save it. Now, this is a movie that I feel like kind of shook up the NFL and just has changed the trajectory of the NFL over the past few years. And we're still seeing the effect of it in today's game, especially with the inclusion of things like guardian caps and rule changes to make the game overall safer on special teams and kickoffs. So there's cultural impact included with this movie. And Will Smith's performance in it is good, despite the critiques that he got on his accent. So I'm gonna go with a solid movie with Will Smith in it. I watched this movie for the first time in 2025 due to, one of the comments left on the video said I should check it out. And I see why people say that the trailers for this movie would make you think that this movie was something else. The trailers would make you think this is sort of like a Christmas Carol or It's a Wonderful Life, where there's the spirits of time, death, and love. But quickly you find out this is more of a feel-good corporate espionage movie. It's a great performance from Will Smith and even the supporting cast, but the weird script kind of drags this one down for me a little bit. So I'm going to put this one in Will Smith did his best. Oscar award-winning Suicide Squad is a weird conversation for me, because this movie is bad, but Will Smith in it is pretty fun. His charisma alongside Margot Robbie's Harley Quinn are really the only things that consistently keep this movie going. And although it's very obviously the inferior Suicide Squad movie, you can definitely tell they wanted Will back in the sequel, but had to settle for Idris instead, which ain't really settling if you ask me, but I digress. So Suicide Squad's gonna land at Will Smith couldn't save it. I revisited this movie solely because of my friend Inky's love for this movie, so I had to make sure that I wasn't tripping when I said that I thought it was bad. So, the official verdict is out. I was kinda tripping. This is a fun movie. For everything this movie promises you, they give you. Even though it can be messy a majority of the time, I couldn't help but smile and have fun during the movie's biggest set pieces, so I apologize, Bright. Didn't understand, I wasn't familiar with your game. This is a solid movie with Will Smith in it. Now, this may be one of my more controversial takes, but I honestly think this Aladdin movie was fun. I didn't think Will Smith lived up to Robin Williams, nor do I think anybody would ever be able to, but you can tell he had fun with the role, and he's charismatic enough to get away with it, to be honest with you. And he brings that emotional depth along with the role as well. So for me, this is gonna land in a solid movie with Will Smith in it. I'm ready for the comments, come at me. In that Hancock video, I kind of alluded that I thought this movie was terrible, but I don't really think that's true. But I do think this will fall into the realm of misses for Will Smith for sure. This movie decided to do a whole younger version versus older version of Will Smith, but instead of using de-aging technology on Will or hiring a younger actor that resembles him, they instead decided to construct a fully CGI Will Smith, and it looks really weird. And in this film, Will is like the ultimate assassin, so a lot of the fight scenes will require movements that Will probably just can't even do anymore at this point. So these scenes are all CGI, and they legit look like early cycle PS4, late cycle PS3 graphics. On top of that, the plot is pretty thin and predictable, so while it's not a slap in the face, Will definitely couldn't save it. Spies in Disguise. Okay guys, I know I said I watched all of them, but I lied. I forgot this movie existed, so it's just gonna sit in slap territory until somebody tells me in the comments I absolutely have to watch this movie. Until then, I'm absolutely not. Sorry. The grand return after 17 years. The boys are back, and are they better? No. But it's still pretty fun. This movie introduces some new lore to the Bad Boys verse, as well as some new characters like Mike's son Armando and the Ammo crew. And it's just all around fun. It's just not as good as the originals to me. It also kind of deals with that similar PS3 graphics issue that I feel like Gemini Man kind of suffered from, but it's still a solid movie with Will Smith in it. The movie where the controversy kind of started. Now, when we're talking about performances, this is one of the better ones obviously of Will Smith's career. It won him his Oscar. I can't really talk negatively about his performance in this movie at all. He did a great job in this movie. Now, when it comes to the real life controversy, I can't really dock him for what happened as opposed to this movie, but I will say it is kind of wild that he did what he did and then went up on stage like 15 minutes later and accepted an award for this movie. So just due to the fact he did win an Oscar for this one, the performance is great, and just the sort of real world lore that goes along with it, Will Smith is the movie. So I'm gonna be honest here, I'm not a big fan of slavery movies, not because I don't believe in their importance or their impact, but because I believe the intended audiences for these movies never really goes to see them. And this movie didn't really break that mold for me. Now, don't get me wrong, Will Smith is incredible in this movie, and Antoine Fuqua is one of my favorite working directors, but the script kind of held this movie back. This movie falls more along the lines of a survival film, if anything, and that's the majority of this film, which can get repetitive, but the last 25% of this movie is awesome when he gets to the north and joins the army, so it's a bit of a mixed bag for me. So ultimately, this film is going to land in the category that was created because of it. Will Smith did his best. And Bad Boys Ride or Die. This is the latest movie in the Bad Boys franchise, and also just the latest movie in Will Smith's filmography. And how do I feel about it? It's a good installment of the franchise. I think that the buddy cop duo chemistry is still there. I still love the new characters they introduce, and they give them more to do in this movie as well, establishing maybe even potential spin-off movies. And it sort of brings back that sort of high-octane, high-pace action that those original films kind of had. This feels more like the originals than the last one did to me. So it's gonna land in certified Big Willie energy. And that's gonna round out our tier list. Let me know what you thought down below in the comments. Am I wrong about some of these movies? Should some of them be bumped up? Should some of them be bumped down? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you like the content, make sure you hit that subscribe button, hit that like button so it gets it out there into the YouTube verse. It's October, so get ready for some scary movie stuff very, very, very soon. But with that being said, if you made it this far into the video, as always, love you, and thanks for watching. Peace.